All right, we have learned how to solve quadratics 3 different ways now. We started off by looking at a graph. Then we looked at a calculator and we found the zeros that way. The third way is we solved it algebraically. And this is going to be the fourth way, is solving by factoring. So I'm going to give you a little reminder of how to factor. I think you've seen this before. Students tend to be pretty good at it. So let's start by playing a quick game. What two numbers add to 5 but multiply to 6? Pause the video until you have the answer. Okay, if you said 3 and 2, or you said 2 and 3, you are correct, right? Because 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, and 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Let's try a couple more. I know, it's a fun game. All right, let's go with add to -3, but multiply to -4. Pause the video until you have the answer. All right, if you said -4 and 1, you are correct, or 1 and -4. So is a -4 plus 1 equal to -3? Yes, it is. Is -4 times a 1 equal to -4? Yes, it is. All right, let's do one more and then we'll move forward. Okay, what two numbers add to 6 but multiply to -16? Okay, if you're stuck on problems, I highly recommend writing the list of things down here that multiply to 16. So that would be a 1 and a 16, a 2 and an 8, a 4 and a 4. And obviously one of these things have to be negative, right, to multiply to -16. So then you would say, okay, which of these would get me possibly a 6? Well, not a 16 and a 1. You can't do 16 minus 1 or 1 minus 16. What about 2 minus 8? Nope. What about 8 minus 2? Yep. So you'd want to basically find something in here that could get you a 6. Again, remember, we are trying to multiply to a -16, so we have to make one of these negative. And I'm going to make the 2 negative because 8 minus 2 gives me 6. So we would have a 8 times a -2 being 16. So those two answers would be correct. All right, now I want you to factor x squared plus 4x plus 3, but first I want you to write an A underneath here and an M underneath here, because you can say I am good at this. So A stands for 4, add, so I have to put a 4 here because remember this is my add thing, and try to multiply to the last thing, so I'm trying to multiply to 3. So what are my two answers that add to 4 but multiply to 3? Well, what do you think? How about 3 and 1, right? Those add to 4, and what about 3 and 1 here? Yeah, they multiply to 3. So I can take this thing, and if I have an equation equal to 0, I can factor this. Instead of writing it as x squared plus 4x plus 3, I'm going to write it as x plus 4 times x plus, oops, not 4. You want to match these values right here. So an x plus 3 and then x plus 1. So whatever numbers you choose for right here, they're going to go here and here. Same thing. 3 is here and the 1 is here. All right, now the question is, how do you solve this? Well, what if I plugged in the number -3? Well, so if I had a -3 here, I'd get -3 plus 3, which would give me a 0 times -3 plus 1 is a -2. Is 0 times -2 0? Yes, it is. So to find these solutions, you just basically need to find when x plus 3 is equal to 0 and when x plus 1 is equal to 0. So here I'm going to subtract 3, and I get an answer of x equals -3 subtract 1 here, and I get x equals -1. Now you might see a pattern, and it does work, that your answer would be the opposite of this and the opposite of that. All right, let's try another one. Let's try having x squared plus 9x plus 14 equals 0. So we're saying what two numbers add to 9 but multiply to 14. Okay, we'll pause the video until you've got it. If you said 7 and 2, you're correct, because 7 plus 2 gives you 9, and 7 times 2 gives you 14. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 7 and then x plus 2. And you're welcome to FOIL this out to see if you get the right answer. And using the trick, I just see my answer is x equals -7 and x equals -2. Or you could take the time to set x plus 7 equal to 0 and solve. And you can take the time to set x plus 2 equal to 0 and solve. It is up to you. But these are our two answers right here that match that method there as well. All right, let's try a couple more. What numbers add to -7 but multiply to 10? Well, that would be what? A -5 and a -2? Yep. So I'll have x minus 5, x minus 2. So my actual answers will be an x equals 5 and an x equals 2. Okay, what adds to -3 and multiplies to -10? That's going to be a -5 and a 2. -5 plus 2 is -3. -5 times 2 is a -10. So we're going to write this as n minus 5 and then n plus 2. So my answer is going to be n equals 5 and n equals -2. All right. What adds to -9 and multiplies to 18? I would go with a -6 and a -3, right? -6 plus -3 is -9. -6 times -3 is a positive 18. So this will be a v minus 6 times a v minus 3 equals 0. So my answers will be v equals a positive 6 and v equals a positive 3. All right, at this point, folks, if you feel like you've got it, you can shut the video off. If you feel like you need to watch me do these last three, please stay with me. So here I'm trying to add to -8 and multiply to 7. So that would be a -7 and a -1, because -7 times -1 is positive 7, but when you add them, you get -8. So this would be an x minus 7 times an x minus 1. So our final answers would be x equals 7 and x equals 1. Remember, you're taking the opposites of these. All right, what adds to -2 and multiplies to -15? Is that -5 and 3? -5 and 3? Yep. So we have an m minus 5 and an m plus 3. So our final answer is m equals 5 and m equals -3. And you might be saying, Ms. Sorensen, once I get these, can't I easily get those? Yes, that's true, but we do need to practice factoring. All right, adding to -2, multiplying to -35, that's going to be a -7 and a 5. So it's going to be m minus 7, m plus 5. Final answer of m equals 7 and m equals -5. All right, I know that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. Be happy.